Welcome back to our study of the book of Hebrews. This is session number 4. We have looked in session 1 how Jesus is better than the prophets. In session 2, we looked at Jesus is better than the angels. Last time we were together, we saw that Jesus is better than Moses and Joshua. And today, we look at a theme in Hebrews 5 through 9. How Jesus is better than the high priest, or better than the entire order of priesthoods. Again, I'll emphasize something that you might get tired of hearing, but it's so true. The priests were good. The high priests were good. They were commanded by God. No one is criticizing the priests for being bad. As good as they were, however, Jesus is better. Now in Hebrews 5 through 9, that's a big section of the book of Hebrews, and it's a challenge to get through it. We have this theme of Jesus as a priest. Earlier I mentioned that Hebrews, we are indebted to Hebrews for this idea of Jesus being a priest. He's nowhere called that anywhere else in the Old Testament. We do read about his sacrifice on the cross. We do read about that. But he's never called an actual priest until this book right here. And so we know much about his death. Paul speaks about his death. The Gospels speak about his death and his resurrection. But the aspect of his death that is brought out is that as a high priest would kill a lamb and offer those animals as a sacrifice, Jesus became the lamb, and as the high priest, he became the sacrifice. And that, I think, is something that is so rich for believers to recognize. Now, how can we get a picture of this? Psalm 110 is quoted a number of times. As a matter of fact, Jesus even referred to it before Caiaphas. You shall see me at the Father's right hand. Jesus claimed to be the Lord of David in Psalm 110:1. This is not new, but it's teased out, it's brought out, it's developed in the book of Hebrews like it is nowhere else. Now, what kind of a priest was he? In Hebrews chapter 8, we read that if he was on earth, speaking about Jesus, he would not be called a priest. What? What do you mean by that? Well, here's why. Jesus was of the tribe of Judah. That's very, very clear. He was not of the tribe of Levi. The priests come from the tribe of Levi. Kings come from the tribe of Judah. Prophets can come from the tribe of Judah. But priests don't come from the tribe of Judah. So the writer of Hebrews says, okay, if he's our priest, how can he be a priest? Well, we are introduced to the type of priesthood that Jesus had and has, is a priest not in the order of Aaron, but in the order of Melchizedek. Now, who in the world was Melchizedek? Admittedly, Melchizedek has a strange aura about him. I like to compare him, if I may be permitted to a cameo appearance in a movie. I'm a fan of Alfred Hitchcock movies. Alfred Hitchcock oftentimes placed himself in one of his movies. He never spoke, he never had any lines, but he would walk onto the screen and walk off. An elevator door would open, out would come this little guy, and it was Alfred Hitchcock. He wouldn't say anything, but he was a cameo appearance. I like to think that Melchizedek made a cameo appearance in the Old Testament. He's only mentioned in Genesis 14, and later he's mentioned in Psalm 110. But the book of Hebrews picks up on that cameo appearance of Melchizedek. Why? Because he is king of Salem and priest of the Most High God. He's a king priest. That is very, very important to the writer of Hebrews, because Jesus is both a king and a priest. But how can he be a priest if he's not of the tribe of Levi? Well, Melchizedek preceded the actual revelation at Mount Sinai, where the children of Israel were made the people of God and the priestly order was established. Melchizedek was actually not a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. As a matter of fact, in Genesis 14, Abraham encounters Melchizedek, whose name means my king is righteous, a righteous king, when he returns from his expedition of rescuing Lot. He sees Melchizedek and he recognizes Melchizedek is greater than him. He bows before him, he pays him tithes, and Melchizedek blesses him. The writer of Hebrews says, the less is blessed by the better one. Melchizedek blesses Abraham. So Melchizedek is over Abraham. And the writer of Hebrews builds on this idea that he's a king and a priest. He is the founder of a priesthood that's greater than the later Levitical priesthood. So how can Jesus be a priest when he's not in the Levitical priesthood? He's in the order of Melchizedek. Now, some believe that Melchizedek was a pre-incarnate appearance of Jesus. I don't think so, because Jesus is a priest in the order of Melchizedek. Also, it says that Melchizedek was made like the Son of God. It doesn't say that Melchizedek was the Son of God. So Melchizedek is a type of Jesus. How is he a type? In his role as king and priest. He was a worshiper of the one true God. His priesthood combined kingship and priesthood. And Jesus is a priest in the order of Melchizedek. That goes all the way back to Genesis 14, but also in Psalm 110, verse 4. That favorite text of the writer of Hebrews. He not only has said, sit at my right hand, Psalm 110, verse 1, he says, Psalm 110, verse 4, you are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. Now, what does Jesus do as a priest? He offers himself. The writer of Hebrews also draws on the rich symbolism of Leviticus 16. The high priest, having offered an animal, would enter into the Holy of Holies and there sprinkle his blood on the mercy seat. Jesus, in the same way, according to Hebrews 9 and Hebrews 10, having offered him one sacrifice for sins forever, entered into the heavenly Holy of Holies, where he presented his sacrifice to his Father. Hebrews 9 talks about 3 appearances. And the first appearance was when he offered himself as a sacrifice. The second appearance, I'll read it in Hebrews 9:24. For Christ did not enter holy places made with hands, mere copies of the true ones, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of God for us. The high priest appeared when he offered a sacrifice on the altar. He appeared in the presence of God when he went into the Holy of Holies. And then he came out and he appeared to the people. No doubt the people on the Day of Atonement were waiting for the high priest to come out and to appear to them. Then they would know that the Father accepted his sacrifice. The very same way, Jesus appeared and offered his sacrifice for us. Hebrews 9:26. He appears in the presence of God for us now. Hebrews 9:24. So finally, it says in Hebrews 9:28, Christ also, having been offered once to bear the sins of many, shall appear the second time for salvation. So Jesus appeared and gave his sacrifice. He appears presently in the Father's presence, and he shall appear visibly when he comes again. These are amazing truths, and they are part and parcel of the book of Hebrews. Remember those Jewish people in the first century. They would be familiar with the Day of Atonement. Now they are told that their great high priest, in fulfillment of his Melchizedekan priesthood, in fulfillment of Leviticus 16, now appears in the presence of God for them. Practically, what does that mean for us? It means this: we can come boldly to the throne of grace because our great high priest has paved the way for us. My wife and I are facing a real challenge with her health, and we have lived on Hebrews 4:14 and following. Wherefore, since we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us take hold of our confession. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who has been tempted like as we are, yet without sin. And here it comes, Hebrews 4:16. Therefore let us draw near with confidence to the throne of grace, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need. My dear hearer, these studies are more than just academic truths about Jesus as our high priest. Because we have a high priest, we can come boldly into the throne room of God, something that Israelites couldn't do. Only their high priest could do that. But because we have a high priest, we can come boldly into that throne room with him in the presence of the Father, so that we may receive grace and mercy, and grace to help in time of need. Mercy for our past sins, grace to help us in our time of need. And whatever be your time of need, whether you're suffering physically or you're facing a challenge of faith, come boldly to the throne of grace. He can give you grace to help in your time of need. That is why it's so important that we have a great high priest who is better than Aaron.